Builder reps, they do value the relationship with the real estate agent. They want to support us and give us all the tools and resources possible so we can bring them more deals as well.
So the fact that you had the relationship ensured that you're getting paid.
Yes, 100%.
In today's episode, I'm super excited to welcome John Garuti, the founder of Team John Garuti down in Babcock Ranch, Florida. John and his team have been working in the new home market, specifically in this area. The big topic of today is going to be focused around the agent and builder relationship. So we're super excited to have you, John. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Eric. Always a pleasure.
Let's dive into something I think that's important because we obviously deal with the new construction market a lot these days. And one of the bottlenecks for a lot of agents is they don't have builder relationships. And you have a lot of them. So I guess my question for you is how would you describe the importance of that relationship? And then after that, maybe we can get into how do you start building them?
Sure. So the relationship is critical because when you do build a good relationship, it can save you on many deals. And I'll give you a great example. Last night, client that I've been working with for a year, you always got to remember when you go and register your client at a builder for the first time, that builder is going to continually email them and follow up. And last night, a client who I had, honestly dropped the ball on following up with, it had been about 3 or 4 months since I had spoken to them. They got an email from a builder about a new discount in town. And sure enough, they called up the builder rep, and that builder rep and I, we have such a good relationship that he called me up right away and was like, hey, guess who just called me? You need to call them right now and help me work on this deal. And sure enough, the clients called me right after that, but the builder rep was also like, hey, you registered with John, you need to call him and, let's work this out. So that's just an example of how that can work in your favor because there's a lot of scenarios that could play out here where you could get screwed out of the deal, right? Mm-hmm. So, for example, builder reps, they're always getting switched around communities. All the builders have different rules about, following up with clients. And then also builder reps, they all share their email lists, right? Mm-hmm. So another builder rep could have been even emailing my client. And if they went to that builder rep and did the deal and didn't bring up my name, I could have been screwed. So, in this instance, I feel like I got lucky. My relationship with that builder rep saved me because if another builder rep in that builder, which is Lennar, and Lennar is notorious for trying to kick agents off deals, mm-hmm. I probably would have been screwed out of the sale right there. So
the fact that you had the relationship ensured that you're getting paid.
Yes,
essentially,
100%.
What other reasons is that relationship important?
I think the relationship can help you get access to deals that other people won't have access to. So that's one. I mean, when builders have incentives, I'm their first call because they know I have a team that's, crushing this area. So I'm getting the most up-to-date news on deals, or I'm getting up to date on lots that are coming out in the future here. I'm knowing about everything before the public, right? Before they announce it. Because the builder reps, I think the good ones, they do value the relationship with the real estate agent. Mm-hmm. And really, in my area, at least, I'm working with all big nationwide builders. So for the most part, they do want to help the realtor out, and they want the realtor bringing them deals. So yeah, that's a big thing right there. It's just they want to support us and give us all the tools and resources possible so we can bring them more deals as well.
Yeah, because someone told me D.R. Horton's biggest source of clients is still agents, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure
D.R. Horton treats my team really good. We've done so good for them here in the neighborhood. They let us run their model home centers now.
Wow.
So, but that came from, developing that relationship, bringing steady deals to them, and then, actually showing up and running their model homes when the reps are out of town or on vacation as well.
So that's a really interesting point. I think, one of the reasons we specialize in this space is because that the funnel of new homes is, in my opinion, a lot better than resale because that first initial conversation, you as an agent have inherently more value because you do have access, if you have the relationship, to units that probably the general public don't. And you just said it. You have such a deep relationship with them now that when they have new inventory, you're the first person they call. So what happens when, like, walk us through how you leverage that in the follow-up process with a lead?
I think with the follow-up, it's just really knowing, this goes to just sales one-on-one, right? Like when you have a lead, you really got to understand what they're looking for. And I think that's something, like, that's a big thing that I'm marketing. So for example, my main area, Babcock Ranch, it is so big and complex now. There's 12 neighborhoods, 9 different builders, and you get people coming in here all the time, driving around lost because they don't know what the hell they're looking for, what they're doing. So part of our marketing message is like, why do you want to come in here and try to do this all on your own when it doesn't cost you $1 to hire us, be your guide, make you focused? And then I think with the follow-up, it's just like, once you bring people around, it's like narrowing down, okay, we looked at this builder, this neighborhood, like, what are your top 2 or 3 choices? And let me stay on top of those. Or sometimes it's a client goes in and is like, yeah, I love that model, but right now I don't like any of these locks. So again, another thing is like, these builder reps, they all fight against each other in a certain aspect, right? So like that special lot that your client could open up, two of the other builder reps might have some potential customer in mind for that as well, right? So that's where, again, going back to like that relationship, and I think having good notes on what your client's looking for and communicating constantly with like the builder rep that you choose to work with to say, hey, when that lot opens up, like, you better call me right away so I can call my client, like, it's go time.
I love that. And I think it adds some new, fresh elements to the relationship building process, right? Where normally with resale, you're setting them up on a safe search. But in new construction, you have all these other factors like, hey, I'm going to get access to, if I know exactly what you want, is I think what I'm hearing. When I hear about new stuff coming to market from the builders, because I'll get first access, you have that value, and it doesn't, as you said, it doesn't cost them any more to work with you.
Right.
You've been doing this for a while, so this is all pretty straightforward for you now. And you have these relationships. You have built a team around this. I know, obviously, you've been quite successful. What advice would you give to someone who is looking to specialize in this area and maybe doesn't have some of that?
Yeah, I think number one, like your marketing, I think you should be focused on your area. So for me, I just was so focused on selling Babcock Ranch when I started because that's where I lived. But I've learned over time, like, you really still need to sell the area first. Like, sell that lifestyle and why do you want to move to this area rather than like sell the new construction home. I've kind of found I've done like specific videos that are like, oh, come buy this ultra luxury new construction home, and it gets like, no hits on videos like that. But selling the lifestyle, and then, that's where it's like people are looking at me like, oh, this guy's the area expert. And then it's just a seamless transition into, well, hey, if you're coming to Babcock Ranch, you might as well consider new construction homes because 90% of the sales are new construction here right now. So let's go tour new construction. And hey, worst case, if, not worst case, but we can always also switch to like a resale if there's a deal. And I think naturally right now in this market in America, like I think I read the other day, like 1 out of 3 homes for sale are new construction homes. And look at where you're getting the deals now. I don't know if you read the Kobe's.
I actually didn't know. I actually didn't know that stat because I know that it tends to be 10 to 15% of the market in most places, but obviously in yours it's a lot more. But you just read that 1/3 of homes for sale are new build right now?
Yeah, I got to find this. I meant to bring this up before we hopped on here, but I saw this recently and I was like, damn. And look where the best deals are in the market. I mean, in my area, the best deals are still with the builders. The builders have more leverage to drop prices and give incentives than the typical homeowner.
Yes, exactly.
And then you look at the poison pill, they call it in America, where 80% of homeowners are under 5% mortgages, right? And I think 40% of homeowners in America own their homes outright. So that's kind of like a big, all these variables going into like the the housing market right now in America. So, but these builders, they've got the leverage with, they combine the title companies, the mortgage companies, and they can give all these incentives. And not like right now, my market, the builders keep dropping the prices and they keep upping the incentives. So it's like super hard to even sell a resale or a listing right now, because it's like, what's the value add of going to an existing home? It's got to be something like your existing home right now has to be sexy. There's got to be something drawing people into it.
I want to talk about the NAR settlement. So
yeah,
I want to know your opinion on it, because one of the driving factors for us was like, I think buyer's agency is going to get a little squeezed, a little. I don't think it's doom and gloom like a lot of people say. But people always ask me, and I have my take on it, but I'm curious to hear yours first. How do you think that, if at all, will affect the new construction market?
I think it's going to be the greatest thing to happen for those who want to focus on new construction, because what I've been priming my team now and what we're discussing is, like, before we take anybody out to look at new construction homes, the first thing we're going to do is a buyer consultation. And we already have a presentation down, and it's just more focused on like our value add as a team. And at the end of that, we're going to be signing these buyer brokerage agreements. And that's going to lead right into hey, we know you're looking at a lot of new construction homes. You need to make sure when you go to that builder that you tell them, I've got a buyer broker agreement signed with Team John Garuti, and I am not buying a damn home without this, because I'm not going to be put on the hook for paying them. So I'm super excited about this because, there's been times in my past where, for one example, I took this, you always take in that input of like what people are looking for. And I remember this one client, I took them all around and they specifically told me they did not want this one builder for whatever reason.
Okay.
And sure enough, I took them around, and then like next day they went to that builder and I wasn't there and they bought. And like stuff like that happens.
The builder they didn't want?
Yeah, the builder they told me they didn't want. They went there and like walked in and like, oh, this is better than I thought. They signed the deal. So, and that's happened to me a few times, but now I'm like, well, this ain't going to happen anymore, because I'm going to have that conversation with the buyer. Like, if you go to some builder without me and you buy a home, like, you are going to be on the hook. So let's just be clear. Like, it's okay if you want to go look at model houses without me, but just make sure you tell those people, because you're getting swarmed when you walk through those doors of that model home, right? You got to make sure that you tell them you're working with Team John Garuti and we're not buying a house without them. So let's just...
So I love this, because you're a senior agent, and most of the senior agents I talk to are, you can see this as an opportunity, right? And some people see it as like the worst thing that's ever going to happen. So that's a really interesting part of this, is you're going to be forced to have that conversation, and that's actually going to probably save you from getting some business hijacked from you. Right. What about the builder incentives? So this is one of the questions that I get asked, and because there's some people that say, well, are builders going to remove incentives for agents? What do you think?
I don't think. I've actually had a lot of conversations with the builders, and the majority of builders love agents and they want the agents bringing them deals. So I don't think they're ever going to get rid of that. I mean, you've got I think you find when you're working with small local builders, those are the ones who are more resistant to pay agents. But those are the ones who are also like not putting the houses on the MLS and stuff either too, right? So I find you get that a lot like up north, because I talk to people about this, because there is a big misconception. A lot of people think like you can't use a realtor. I get that a lot in my area, but I think when you're working with these bigger nationwide builders, I mean, they do need us at the end of the day, because we can sway, people's opinions pretty easily. Not that that's my job, right? My job's to like, I'm always so focused on, I want to make sure my clients know all the details, all the facts, so we can help them make the right decision. But, if I want to be an asshole about it, I can certainly convince somebody not to buy from this builder in this neighborhood, right? Like that. But I mean, I don't do that. But, I think builders realize like we have a lot of influence, sway over the consumers out there. So it's in their best interest to partner with us.
Here's my kind of take on it. I'm curious what you think of this. I think that buyer's agency will get a little bit squeezed because you're going to have to negotiate it up front in resale scenarios.
Right.
However, that might squeeze that commission a little bit. It might make new construction more attractive, because why would a builder remove the incentive for an agent when not doing so is going to make their inventory more competitive, and therefore potentially either increase the prices or increase the sales that they're able to make.
Yeah. I'm curious what's going to happen when Mr. Consumer rolls up to like the builder and the builder says, oh, I'm only paying a realtor 1%. And the consumer says, well, I've got an agreement here to pay my buyer agent 3%. So sorry, I don't think I'm going to buy a house here because I'm not going to be liable for like that 2%, which could be, $8,000, $10,000, $15,000.
So can you explain that to me like I'm 5, just for anyone listening?
Yeah. So when we sign these exclusive buyer brokerage agreements, the buyer is going to be on the hook for like what percentage we say. Now there's like a lot, I'm still trying to drill down through this because my big questions for me are like, if I sign 3% and, maybe the seller only gets 2.5%, like, can I just be like, okay, Tate, that's fine. You don't got to, I'm not going to hold you on the hook for like another 0.5% here. But then the other flip side is like, well, if I sign a 3% buyer brokerage agreement, then the builder's offering me like a special because it's a move-in ready home and they're offering 5%. Like, can I, how do I work this agreement so I can make sure I still get compensated for that bonus the builder's giving at that time? So there's still a lot to figure out. I've been talking to my broker about it, and even I had a chat with like Leo Pareda, the CEO of EXP Realty, about this too. And so I'm still kind of waiting to hear back on how to word these things properly.
Yeah, and I think my understanding is you have to stipulate what's going to happen in those scenarios up front and be clear about it. And I think that's where some people struggle, right? Is the unknown, if you will. But you're still seeing it generally as like an opportunity.
I think it's a big opportunity because I feel the big thing that's going to change is I think it's going to be the norm where you really have to interview like buyer agents now. Kind of like you list your home, you should probably have 2 or 3 people come talk to you about listing your home.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be the same now, I believe, in buyer agency where people are going to interview 2 or 3 people. So I think the big shift for agents and what they need to focus on is like being able to give a really good consultation right there on the spot and like win that client over. And I think this is going to push out a lot of those part-timers who, it's easy now to get a call on the weekend and be like, hey, you want to show me this home? Well, now it's going to be like, hey, you want to show me this home? Yeah, but first we got to meet and I got to give you a presentation and I got to then get you to sign a buyer brokerage agreement or else I can't show you the home, right? So I think that's going to transform how we work as buyer agents. And I think
that's an opportunity because you've been in our program, our coaching, you've been exposed to the people we connect with. And like, that's what we advise you to do anyways. You never want to meet someone at a property for the first time, generally.
No.
You want to get on the horn with them, build that relationship, set expectations correctly, and go from there, not wing it and meet them at the property, right?
Yeah, no, that never works out.
For whoever needed to hear it. So, last question, John. How are you generating leads for new construction?
Well, I built my whole career off YouTube and again, doing YouTube videos on the area. So like before I started a team, I did everything organically. So I was just between YouTube and Facebook and referrals, my sphere. So like my first 2 full years in real estate, I sold 110 homes and it was all organically like that. So I think there's still such a huge opportunity in doing YouTube and social media. My Facebook group was like has been a big hit and still gets me deals to this day. And now I'm doing a lot of pay-per-click because I have a team and it's harder to support a team. But, I do just, again, it's area focused. Like my area is full of new construction homes. I'm not necessarily like saying, hey, come buy all these new construction homes if you're interested in this area. Like, let's talk.
You're just targeting Babcock Ranch in general.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, if anyone wants to check John out on YouTube, it's Team John Garuti, correct?
Yeah, the channel's now living in Babcock Ranch, Florida,
go.
I thought. So,
And John does make some pretty wicked YouTube videos, so you can make sure to check him out there. So any final thoughts today, John? I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your wisdom and insight here.
yeah, I would just say for agents, definitely work on your skill set. I think there's going to be a lot more skills needed to be successful in real estate after all these changes go through. So you want to be, with the right people, the right partners who are helping you grow. And I think it is, like we talked about, it's a huge opportunity. I think this massive shift's coming, and like the agents who really expand their skills, who have a really good presentation ready to go, that amazing elevator pitch, who can clearly convey their value, are going to be the ones who are going to be getting a lot more business. There's going to be a big separation of who's getting business now moving forward. So the best way to be prepared is knowledge, and there's plenty of knowledge out there. You just got to go seek it.
100%, man. Well, hey, thank you so much for being on the podcast. For anyone that wants relevant links to find John or anything else, down in the show notes, if you want to check out what Agent Launch does and how we help agents and builders generate leads, build project pages, do a lot of new home marketing, you can check out the show notes or go to agentlaunch.com. Thanks again, John. We'll see you in the next one.
All right. Anytime, man.